the Springfield Prodigy 1911 DS follow-up video. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really excited to get to make this video. If you haven't checked out my first video where I kind of did my first, I don't want to call it a full review, but like first look of the 1911 Prodigy DS, I will put a link in the description and there will be a link to it on the card at the very end. I'd rather have you watch this video first, then you can go ahead and loop back to that one. However, in that video, I had some issues and I was right up front with people and I said I was disappointed. Basically, I bought this myself. I was not provided it by Springfield. I spent $1,400 of my own money to get this gun because I am a 2011, and yes, I realize that's a trademark term, but I am a 2011 nerd, and I really wanted to see this gun do well. However, mine out of the box did not run very well. Now, I also was up front with you guys, and I disclosed my relationship with Staccato, and of course, comment section on the first video basically accused me of being biased because I wanted Staccato to look better. But the reality was, this needed some work out of the box. Now, I work on a lot of 1911s, 2011s. I've been through numerous armorer schools. I've apprenticed under some good gunsmiths who are really good with 1911, 2011 type guns. So I realize your mileage may vary. I will also caveat with, this is a sample of one, okay? And I've seen a few of them where people are reporting good things, but there are a lot more people that are now starting to report issues, basically retail purchases. They're starting to have the same stoppages that I have. And some people are gonna be like, yeah, I can't believe you, whatever. Check the forums, check the groups. People are starting to have issues because this is a production gun. Now, we'll do a future video where I break down a Staccato P and the Prodigy because I think these are probably more directly, I don't know, likely to be compared. They're not comparable. They're different types of classes of guns, okay? But I think a lot of people will want that. And in that video, I'm just gonna tear them down and go fact to fact, counterpoint to point, you know, whatever it might be, to kind of go over what you're getting versus what you're not getting, you know, on each one of them. So check that out, subscribe, you can do all that. All right, moving forward. Here's the deal. Does the gun work? I'm just gonna get that right out of the way. As you can see from some of the footage, yes, I got the gun working. And I'm really excited that I've got the gun working because I really want to like the gun. I want to see a sub $1,500 production quality firearm on the market. There's a lot of people that want a first time 2011 or a first time double stack style 1911 gun, and they might not have the budget for some of the other stuff out there. So I really am excited to see this. Now, other people are gonna shake their head and be like, you know what, I'd rather buy a Staccato, or they'd rather get a custom gun or, you know, one of the other high-end makers. I mean, believe it or not, there are guys that spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on custom 2011 style guns. Yes, you heard me correct. So, but I am really excited to see this in the market. Now, I will be up front. If you get one, there's a likelihood you might need some work, okay? So when I first got mine, even just cycling it, it would hang up sometimes. Now, I felt that the spring wasn't quite right, and I also could feel that the disconnector, which is this little part right down here, and I know it's super tough to see on camera because they use a black disconnector with a black slide and black frame, but you can kind of see that little notch looking thing right there. That is the disconnector. Now, what the disconnector is designed to do is go down, so it's kind of cone shaped like this, and when the slide goes over it, it's pushing it down. Now, on some 2011, 1911 style guns, we may need to do a little bit of work on that. We may need to, you know, take away some burrs or whatever. But sometimes on that cylinder portion, if the slide hits it, the stripper rail of the slide goes against the disconnector. It doesn't push it down because we don't have enough radius there. It just pushes it this way and it kind of gets stuck in the frame, if you will. And that's what some of the issue I was feeling, why I think I had some failed to feeds, additionally with springs. Now with 2011, 1911 style guns, there's actually more going on under the hood than with some of the other guns out there. So we have our recoil spring, which does make a big difference. We have the mass of the slide. How much does the actual slide weigh? And on a 9mm gun, it's actually more important to get that slide weight pretty optimized, which is also why I think that the 4 1/4 gun is probably having less issues because it's a lighter slide. It's easier to cycle that. And then additionally, we have a mainspring here, which also helps with cycling because if it's too heavy, that's more energy that's needed to cock the hammer back as the slide cycles after firing the round. So the weight of this mainspring can be a part of it as well. Not to mention there's other tuning that needs to be done to the gun. The firing pin stop, for example, how much of a radius is on that can make a difference of how the gun cycles. Some people will put a small radius on the stripper rail for the disconnector. Some people will tune the disconnector. Some people will do what's called the Marvel cut. There's a lot of different options that can be done on a 1911, but there's a lot of things going on. Even how the barrel locks up on the slide, the barrel hood, things like that. All that stuff makes a big difference. So I'm super excited that I tell you I got this gun working. What I did, number one, I had to tear it apart. I'm an armorer. Don't do this if you don't feel comfortable. You could void your warranties, all that other stuff. And I found some issues. Number one, I'm showing you some footage of the parts. They are what they are. They are all MIM parts. Not to say that they're bad, but they are production grade metal injected molded parts. You can see the little casting marks. They are what they are. And that's part of the reason why this gun has the particularly gritty, heavy trigger that it does. Mine is all of 5.5 pounds, which for a 1911, 2011 is a little heavy. And I also felt that the mainspring was a little heavy. Now, Springfield is saying that it's a 9-pound, 23-pound. And when I put the recoil spring on the gauge, it was right at 9 pounds. I swapped it out. Right now, I'm experimenting between 8 and 11 pounds just to kind of get the gun working well, but I've got it working really well. And then I also put in an 18-pound mainspring, and I'm finding that it still has plenty of energy to drop the hammer reliably to ignite primers, but what I find that the trigger improved just a little bit, and I need less energy to cycle the gun, which is obviously a good thing trying to get this gun to work. Now, other things that I noticed when I tore the gun down is there was some burrs on the disconnector, then the disconnector needed a little cleaning up. So I was able to remove those burrs, I was able to polish it, and I was able to get that basically fitted, and it was working great. Even once I got everything together and you're cycling the gun, it feels better. It doesn't have that hang up that I did. Additionally, I found some burrs on the slide, so I had to clean up some of those. And I did contour the firing pin stop just a little bit to kind of fit that, to get everything up and going. My goal was to get this gun running 100% with all factory parts. Then I did that. Now, one other thing I did to my Prodigy is I added a Dawson toolless guide rod. And in my opinion, this is the way to go for a 2011. It looks a little bit different than the two-piece guide rod that came with the gun, and I did use the factory reverse plug. But basically, what I can do now is this is the toolless guide rod, and it has this little lever here. And that lever then captures the reverse plug, allowing me to quickly swap springs. Like I said, I'm running, I believe this is an 8-pound spring now. I'm gonna experiment with this. Don't go too extreme with springs. I know some guys are reporting like 12 and 13-pound springs, and that can lead to other issues with the gun to try to compensate for other issues. So how this works is basically you put your spring on, put your reverse plug, compress it, then I can activate this lever and it'll hold the reverse plug in place, compressing the spring. Now I can swap springs easily between weights if I wanted to try something different at the range, even for cleaning, disassembly, whatever. This is a way better system than that wonky two-piece thing that you needed to carry a hex key. Installation of the guide rod is pretty straightforward. You basically insert it in so, but you're gonna do it upside down. And then as you get it in, you'll kind of twist it around so it's in the proper orientation. Then the reverse plug is going to go forward in the slide. Be careful, you're going to compress. That is going to release the lever, and then you can slowly work the guide rod back into position, rotate that link down, and you can go ahead and insert the slide onto the gun. Once it is in position, we're going to look for the link to pass through, and then we can insert our slide stop, compress the detent. Once you have your slide stop back into position, everything is back how it should. I like this system a lot better. I'll put a link to the part number or talk about it on our webpage, so you can check that out on our webpage for the link to the Dawson toolless guide rod that I used. Now, the one thing I will say is that the magazines, I'm not super in love with the magazines. I was using a bunch of staccato mags because I have a ton of them, and the staccato mags functioned flawlessly. Now, in a 2011 style gun or a 1911 double stack, which that's a whole other caveat, I talked about that in the first video, there is a big deal with the magazines. And you'll notice that when most people are having issues with magazines, it is likely at the beginning because there's more pressure on the round on these feed lips here. Now, there's a reason they should be tapered, they should be smooth, they allow that round to release. And then as we start to shoot a little bit, there's less pressure or less friction on that round in the magazine, and therefore you'll probably have less issues. So if you're having issues with the magazine and you're wondering, is it the gun, is it the magazine, or whatever, you think it's the magazine, I should say, go ahead and strip a few rounds down and then see if the gun runs. And when you fill that magazine back up, and if you start to have issues, it's then likely your magazine. And it's very common for these 2011 style magazines to need tuning. Back in the day when I first had my first custom 2011, I had to pay $100 a piece for tuned magazines in that competition gun before I learned how to tune them myself. So, and the tuning is basically, you're opening up the feed lips, might be doing a little polishing, might be doing a little bending to kind of get things optimal. You may be cutting the notch to make sure that it's not interfering with the ejector, make sure that it's tuned right for your mag catch. So that's all thing. Even kind of bending the spring a little bit so how it engages on the follower. Those are all things that we used to have to do. Now with the staccato mags, these are looking really good. Now Checkmate, they make really good 1911 mags. They OEM for a lot of companies. They actually posted a video of them making double stack style or 2011 style magazines. So I'm going to be reaching out to them to say, hey, like, are you guys getting in the market, whatever it is, because I want to try some magazines, because I like the Checkmate mags that I've seen in the 1911 world. So, like I said, use staccato magazines. If you have issues with your Springfield ones, they may need a little tuning or cleaning up. But what I had to do to get mine running was the stuff that we talked about. Just basically it needed a little cleanup, and I'm happy to report that the gun is working 100%. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, are you eating crow or whatever? No, it's a different level of gun. And I'm not the only one to have this. If you want to check out another channel, check out Hilton Yam from 10-8 Performance. I'll put a link to his channel. I have mad respect for Hilton, retired FBI, special agent, armorer, tech. I consider him a 1911, 2011 expert, okay? He's a super smart guy. He's really, really well respected in the industry, and he puts out videos that are basically saying the same thing that I am about this gun. Neither of us are getting paid by Springfield, so we can share what we want. He used to be affiliated with Staccato. I don't get paid by Staccato. They just, give me a gun every so often that I use in law enforcement classes and stuff. So I'm not even getting paid by Staccato to share anything either. So that's where it is. But both him and I, as well as other channels now, are starting to have those issues. But I wanted to give a follow-up. I'm super excited. If you guys have any technical questions about this, go ahead and sound off. The best way, though, would be for you to support the channel in our Patreon. I'm going to be doing more and more as that Patreon starts to grow. We only have a small amount of supporters now, but as that grows, you'll have dedicated QA and technical information and more access to me. So consider joining. We have different levels, all the way from $1 all the way on up, and everything does help keep the lights on by memory cards, hard drives, all that stuff. Or you can support the channel by, if you're watching this on YouTube, giving a super thanks, or you can make donations via that as well, which is also really, really appreciated no matter what you can do. If you like the content, guys, please like, share, subscribe. At the end of the month, we also do answer your questions in our monthly QA, which is the last Monday of the month, 2 p.m. Central. It's a live show. I answer as many questions as I can via the comments, via emails, and we give away some prizes. But super excited that we have the 1911 DS Prodigy up and running with a little bit of tuning. So again, your mileage might vary. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. If you've stuck around this long, if you want to see more videos, one that maybe YouTube thinks you would like, you can check over here. If you want to check out the first video on the Prodigy, you can check out over here. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.